Jasher Maccabees here. Want to share some more thoughts, some more notes. Here's today's topic. White flight versus black flight. Growing up, I never really understood, I really didn't hear the phrase white flight. But as a young man, you know, in my 20s and 30s, I started hearing it a little bit here and there in conversations. I really didn't pick it up. But in the last handful of years, I've kind of like heard it referred to in situations. From my understanding, white flight is when certain minority groups start moving in, maybe multiple minority groups move in, and there's an exodus, if you will, or a white flight, because people want schools to look a certain way. They want to dominate the numbers. If there's starting to be a fluctuation or a percentage starts to change, it's time to look for greener pastures, if you will. So white flight, interesting. Leads me into my next thought. It's often common to hear, for me, common to hear white folks, a lot of times older white folks, but just I hear the phrase, Jesus couldn't have been black. He couldn't have been black. He was Middle Eastern. He had to be olive colored. And I thought to when I hear that, and when I hear it now, I'm like, olive? Aren't olives green or black? Doesn't make any kind of sense. But anyway, let's move through. And when I hear people say the Middle East, I used to, just go with the flow. Now when I hear the Middle East, I think is London. I think of a rebuttal. London is not in Germany. It's in England. Plus, Egypt is not in the Middle East. It's in Africa. But there's always a little hesitation. And I heard other black men say, if you give up Egypt, if the so-called opinions of groups give up Egypt, that's the start of a tidal wave of information that's seen a whole lot different than what we've been accustomed to. Anyway, guess who actually named the Middle East? Britain in the 1850s. But in the 1902, in 1902 it became popularized. Let me give you a verse. This is from the King James. Today I'll just stay with a King James version of certain Bible verses. Excuse me. Okay, Joel 3:6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. It's almost like we got skeletons, not kings, skeletons of kings, and I'm trying to put pieces together. There was a black flight. That I'm thinking of that happened from Jerusalem in 70 AD. The Romans surrounded Israel during this time. There was a big war. It's called the Siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. There was actually a historian, an historian named Josephus Flavius. And he said, according to him, he said 100 Jews were killed during this time, this siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. He also, there's more information, over 1 million Jews, all those refugees, if you will, fled or escaped to Africa. Some went to Spain and different places, but Africa. Little rabbit trail. Google the images of the Lachish reliefs. Take a look at those images. You have the Assyrians, are like the slave drivers, and the slaves, the Israelites, looked a certain way. Take a look at that. Okay, number 4. There was black flight from Spain. If Jews left Jerusalem as a result of the siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, they fled to Africa, fled to Spain. But there was black flight from Spain. When these Jews, if they didn't pay their taxes or they didn't convert to Catholicism, they were expelled. They had 4 months. They had 4 months to comply and convert. And this was called the Alhambra Decree. It's ironic. I think in California there's a city called Alhambra. It's a lot of history behind words, a lot of history behind names. But anyway, here's another Bible verse. Psalm 37, 12, and 13. Okay, Psalm 37, 12. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Verse 13. The Lord, I'm just reading the King James, make it simple. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth his days is coming. Let me say that again. Verse 13. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth his day is coming. Here's something else to Google. So maybe take a look at this image while I'm saying a few notes. Google the King's Fountain, Portugal. The King's Fountain, Portugal. Okay, this would be number 5. Let me see. 5th set of little notes here. There was black flight from Portugal. In Portugal, it was either convert or get out. When I say forced conversion, we're talking about forced conversion to the Catholic Church in 1497. There's actually a place if you Google something, take a look at the land of the Negroes, Portugal. Wow. Negroes. But those people in Portugal came from Spain. And from Spain, they came from Jerusalem. And if you have a chance, take a look at Google Black Portuguese Jews, the images. Speaking of Portugal, another little side rabbit trail. Would you go to a church that was made of, churches are made of, all kinds of wood, stucco, marble, what have you, But would you go to a church that was made of bones? Okay, take a look. There's a Catholic Church of Bones in Portugal. It's called the Chapel of Bones, Evora. E-V as in victory, O-R-A. The Catholic Church of Bones in Portugal. something's not right. But whose bones are those? Whose bones are those? Here's another little side rabbit trail. Got a lot of rabbit trails. A few years ago, Kanye West, he wore an outfit in an interview, a black pointed hoodie outfit. You know, some pointed, it kind of looked like KKK type outfit. And people would ask in conversation, do you think, man, what do you think about that? Hey, I'm like, what do you think? Is that evil? What do you think? Most people say, yeah, that looks evil. That has some evil symbolism. I'm like, hey. So then I said, hey, can you Google Catholic Church, Portugal, pointed hoods? Interesting. Okay, a little bit more. In Portugal, for the people that didn't convert, there was like a tipping point. Either you convert to Catholicism or we're going to give you consequences, or slavery. So in Portugal, they had public rituals of punishment for those that didn't convert to the Catholicism or the Catholic Church. Some of these consequences, these public humiliation rituals, included wearing garments of shame. Speaking of which, take a look at that image of the King's Fountain, Portugal. There's so much going on in that picture. Different colors, different people, nobility, people going through persecution, people getting on boats, people wearing certain outfits, certain garments. Anyway, so these garments of punishment were called San Benito, garments of shame. That's one consequence for not converting to Catholicism. Another consequence, another couple, was public whipping or public burning. Now we're going, hey, let's not lose track of the topic. White flight, black flight. During all these different public punishments were called auto de fe. AUTODEFE. Okay, another Bible verse. Again, King James for today. Okay, Genesis 15:13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Let me say that one more time. Genesis 15:13. This is in Genesis. Yahuah knew what was going to happen a long time down in history. What people have been in slavery or affliction 400 years. Anyway, okay, Genesis 15:13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay, let's go to number 6. Got a handful of little notes, just moving along, trying to make connections. We'll put some more meat on the bone. I'll try to find some more, but I'm just planting seeds. I'm learning a little bit. I'm sharing a little bit. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to put some pieces together. Okay, number 6. There was black flight on the island of Sao Tome. SAOTOME. There was black flight on the island of Sao Tome. Those people on the island of Sao Tome were sent there from Portugal. But there was black flight from Sao Tome to America in the transatlantic slave trade. Pause for a second. Google images of Sao Tome people. Let me just say that one more time. Google images of Sao Tome, Saotome, Sao Tome people. Do they look like me? Do they look like other black people that you might know? Your cousins, your relatives, brother, sister, uncle? Now, hey, Google an image of yoke of iron. Yoke, Y-O-K-E, yoke of iron. I'm just trying to put pieces together. Okay, number 7. There was black flight from Negro land, West Africa, the slave coast, the Kingdom of Judah, which was on the 1747 map. Let me say this all over again. There was black flight from Negro land, which is in Africa, West Africa, the slave coast, and the Kingdom of Judah. Those folks were brought over to America in the transatlantic slave trade. I'm going to say a few names and please Google these images. Falasha Jews. Falasha, I'll spell it F-A-L-A-S-H-A-S. Falasha Jews. Google images of Limba, L-E-M-B-A, Limba tribe. Here's another, Bantu, B-A-N-T-U. Here's another one, Igbo, I-G-B-O. Another one, Ashanti, A-S-H-A-N-T-I. Another one, Yoruba, Y-O-U-B-A. Those are some people. Okay, number 7. I'm just going, maybe my numbers are a little bit, hey. Number 7, there was black flight from the sub-Saharan desert. We talked about the transatlantic slave trade, but there was also the sub-Saharan slave trade. So this black flight from the sub-Saharan desert went to the Middle East and the Mediterranean. It's estimated that 6 to 10 million people went on this black flight. This involuntary, maybe I should start using that introduction. Involuntary black flight. The males on this sub-Saharan slave route and slavery, the males were castrated. The females became concubines. Sub-Saharan slave trade. Okay, number 8. With all that going on, let's not forget, some of us were already here in America. Not all of us were brought over on slave ships. Some of us were already here. A lot of us were already here. Take a look at the Bonampak Murals. Google while I'm talking, or pause. Google Bonampak Murals. Bonampak murals in Mexico. Those were created in 790 CE. Those people have copper colored skin. Here's another one to Google while you get ready to pause. El Negro Olmec. Google L-E-L Negro, N-E-G-R-O, Olmec, O-L-M-E-C, El Negro Olmec. Those heads are in Mexico. They were there in 1200 to 400 BC. So we were already there in the Americas. A little bit more. There was a man in Mali, Mansa Musa, but his predecessor, the person who came before him, a ruler by the name of Abu Bakari II, he sailed the Atlantic Ocean on 2 big trips. He had over 2,000 ships. He sailed over the Atlantic, but he never returned. He sailed across the Atlantic with 2,000 ships and he never returned. We were already here. On the contrary, on the opposite, Columbus supposedly came over in 1492 to the Americas. Okay, a little bit more. There was black flight on the Trail of Tears. Yeah. I'm going to mention a handful of Indian names. I'm not going to mention them all. I'm learning. I'm going to mention some. The Black Seminoles. There was black flight. I'll just go down the list right here. Black Seminoles, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, Blackfoot, the Pequot, Black Indians, P-E-Q-U-O-T. I don't pronounce all the words correctly. I'm sorry. Shinnecock, Black Indians, the Yamasee, Negro Indians, and there's many more Indian tribes. Some of us were already here in the Americas. There was black flight. Let me continue. There was black flight from Chichen Itza in Mexico. And maybe I'm not pronouncing it right. Chichen Itza. Take a look at the Bonampak Murals. There was black flight from Peru for the Inca, the people of South America. Here's another one. Get ready to pause. Google the ancient Inca Black Noblemen, 1599. Let me say that again. Google the ancient Inca, I-N-C-A, Black Noblemen, 1599. Okay. The next thing you can Google, 2 things. Google the original image of America. And then Google the original emblem of Africa. You'll notice they look very similar. British Empire, they know. Okay, here, let me give you a verse. This is Isaiah 11:12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. That was Isaiah 11:12. Okay, number 10. I'm almost there. Almost there. Just so I got 4 cards. Almost there. I'm just trying to share the little bit that I got. The little bit I'm learning here and there. I just want to share. Okay, number 10. We are not African Americans. We are not African Americans. It's ironic how I don't really hear white folks being referred to as, hey, well, how many European Americans do we have? How many Chinese? How many Mexican Black? Okay, how many European Americans do we? We don't use that title for them. But again, we are not African American. In the 15th century, we were called Indians. In 1850 to the 1960s, we were called Negro or colored. But it keeps changing. So in 1969 to 1988, this is sort of like my lifetime. 1969 to 1988, we were called Black and Afro American. In 1988, Jesse Jackson started to popularize, and this may have come from different sources. Jesse Jackson started to popularize African American as a label for us. We are not African Americans. We are Israelites. Here's a verse. Just want to share another verse. Zechariah 2:8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you, toucheth the apple of his eye. Zechariah 2:8. Oh, here's another verse. I'm down to my last 2 cards here. Isaiah 41:1. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up with 3 songs that I'm just trying to share something that I know will speak to your heart, your soul. Okay, first song is Black Codes, Codes, Black Codes by Paisley, the Hebrew. Second song, Yisrael, Yisrael, by Yahudah Shalom. Let me say that one. That was a good one. Okay. The song title is, I'll spell it, Yisrael, Yisrael, by Yahudah Shalom. Last one by Lorvins. Lorvins got some hitters. Song title, We the People, by Lorvins. Just shared